It was one of those nights when the world outside the towering skyscrapers of New York seemed to hold its breath. The rain washed over the glass windows of the top floor of the Hamilton Towers, where Adrian Hamilton, one of the wealthiest billionaires in the country, sat alone in his office. Papers lay scattered across his mahogany desk, the glowing city lights behind him casting long shadows. Adrian was known as a man who had everything: power, money, influence, and charm. Yet, if one looked closely enough, they'd see something lurking in his eyes that money could never conceal: loneliness. He had built an empire from nothing after his father's unexpected death when he was just 22, and though he had climbed every ladder of success, the one thing he had never managed to hold onto was love. That love had a name: Isabella Carter. Years ago, before Adrian had been the ruthless mogul everyone now knew, he had been just a young man with big dreams and an even bigger heart. Isabella had been the light of his life, a spirited woman with laughter that could brighten the darkest of days. They had planned a future together, but fate had a cruel way of interfering. Misunderstandings, ambitions, and the poisonous whispers of those who envied them had torn them apart. Adrian had buried himself in work, and Isabella had vanished from his life as though she had never existed. But fate had not been finished with them. One rainy evening, as Adrian stepped out of his limousine to attend a charity gala, he caught sight of a familiar figure in the crowd. A woman with chestnut brown hair, her delicate frame wrapped in a simple but elegant dress, was directing a group of children toward the shelter's entrance. Something about her movements made his heart stumble. When she turned, his suspicions were confirmed. It was Isabella. For a moment, the billionaire, who was feared in boardrooms and worshipped in headlines, felt like a lost boy again. "Isabella," he whispered under his breath. She didn't notice him at first. She was too busy organizing the children, her voice soft but firm, her smile warm and unpretentious. Adrian found himself watching her as though no time had passed, though nearly a decade separated them. He approached her, his presence commanding as ever, and when she finally looked up, their eyes locked. Her face paled. Adrian. He had imagined this reunion countless times, but nothing compared to the reality. His chest tightened with emotions he thought he had buried. "I never thought I'd see you again," he said softly. Her lips parted as if she had words ready, but she swallowed them back and instead turned to the children. "Let's get you inside first," she said, avoiding his gaze. Adrian, for the first time in years, felt powerless. The night ended with unanswered questions, but Adrian couldn't let her slip away again. He found out where she worked, a community center in Brooklyn, and the very next day, he went there. The center was buzzing with life, children laughing, mothers chatting, volunteers bustling about. And in the middle of it all was Isabella, her hair tied back, her hands busy with art supplies, her face glowing with purpose. She looked happier than he had ever seen her when they were together, yet there was still a shadow in her eyes. When Adrian approached, the room seemed to pause. Isabella stiffened but didn't run this time. "Why are you here, Adrian?" she asked quietly, her tone defensive. "Because I need to know why you left," he replied. Her jaw tightened. "That's a question you should have asked 9 years ago." The bitterness in her voice cut him, but he didn't back down. "I looked for you, Isabella. I tried to find you. You just disappeared." "I had my reasons," she said, her voice trembling now. "And what reasons were so important that you couldn't tell me?" he demanded, frustration laced with desperation. Her eyes softened with pain, and she looked away. "Because, Adrian, I was pregnant." The words hit him harder than any corporate betrayal ever could. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. "What?" She finally met his gaze, tears glistening in her eyes. "You have a son. He's 8 years old." Adrian staggered back, his world spinning. A son, his son. All these years, he had believed Isabella had walked away because she didn't love him enough. All the while, she had been carrying his child, raising him alone, keeping their world a secret. "Where is he?" Adrian asked, his voice breaking. Isabella hesitated, then whispered, "At school." The days that followed were filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Adrian demanded to see his son, and Isabella reluctantly agreed. When he first laid eyes on the boy, named Ethan, he felt a surge of emotions he had never known before. Ethan had Isabella's warm smile but Adrian's piercing gray eyes. The boy was shy at first, clinging to his mother, but curiosity soon overcame hesitation. "Are you my dad?" Ethan asked one evening, his innocent gaze searching Adrian's face. Adrian's throat tightened. "Yes, Ethan, I'm your dad, and I promise, from this day forward, I'll never leave you." For the first time in years, Adrian felt whole. But life was not as simple as a reunion. Adrian's world was one of ruthless business rivals, tabloids hungry for scandal, and family members eager to control his fortune. The revelation of a hidden heir was bound to stir chaos. And chaos came swiftly. News of Ethan spread after someone leaked the information to the press. Headlines screamed about the billionaire's secret child, and vultures circled, eager to exploit the situation. Isabella, who had spent years protecting her son from the world's cruelty, now found herself thrust into the very spotlight she had avoided. Adrian did everything in his power to shield them. He used his wealth and influence to silence reporters, to provide security, to ensure Ethan's life remained untouched by scandal. But Isabella knew that wealth came with its own dangers. "You can't control everything, Adrian," she told him one night after putting Ethan to bed. "I can control enough," he insisted. "I won't let anyone hurt you or our son." She shook her head. "It's not just about protection. It's about balance. Ethan doesn't need a world of bodyguards and headlines. He needs love, stability, normalcy." Her words struck him deeply. For all his billions, Adrian had never understood the simplicity of what a child truly needed. And so, for the first time in his life, Adrian Hamilton began to change. He scaled back his empire, delegating power he once hoarded. He spent evenings helping Ethan with homework, mornings making pancakes, afternoons at the park. He found joy in the little things he had once dismissed as trivial. And slowly, the fortress around his heart began to crumble. But happiness is never without trials. Adrian's half-brother, Marcus, had long harbored resentment. With Ethan now in the picture, Marcus saw his own chances at inheritance dwindling. Greed consumed him, and he plotted to destroy Adrian's newfound happiness. One evening, Isabella received a threatening letter. "Leave Adrian, or your son will pay the price." Fear gripped her, but she refused to be intimidated. When Adrian found out, his fury knew no bounds. He vowed to bring Marcus down, not just for himself but for the family he now cherished. The battle that followed was brutal. Corporate betrayals, legal battles, and even physical threats tested Adrian and Isabella's strength. Yet through it all, they stood together. And, with each challenge, their bond deepened. In the end, Marcus was exposed for his schemes and disgraced publicly. Adrian's empire remained intact, but more importantly, his family emerged stronger than ever. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Adrian stood with Isabella and Ethan on the balcony of their home. Ethan laughed as Adrian lifted him into the air, his small hands gripping his father's shoulders with trust and joy. Isabella watched them, tears glistening in her eyes, her heart finally at peace. Adrian set Ethan down and turned to her, taking her hands in his. "I lost you once, Isabella. I'll never make that mistake again. You and Ethan are my everything. You've shown me a love money could never buy. And I swear, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." Isabella smiled, her tears falling freely. "Then you've already changed everything." As the night embraced them, the billionaire who once had everything but nothing at all finally understood what it meant to truly live, to truly love, and to truly be rich. Because in the end, it wasn't the billions in his bank account that defined Adrian Hamilton. It was the hidden heir who carried his name, and the woman whose love had changed everything.